grab your passports. Jess, you're jumping on another plane for work because we are going abroad.
Let's go.
Americans abroad, because we are on the verge of a U.S. women's national team, an international window with the U.S. women's national team camp. And there were 6 players called into Emma Hayes' squad for these April friendlies that come from overseas. Lindsay Heaps at Lyon, Emily Fox at Arsenal, Lily Johannes at Ajax, Catarina Macario at Chelsea, and then Crystal Dunn and Corbin Albert at PSG. It's so fun to watch these players overseas. We get to take it in so much at Attacking Third, but now players who are fans who are just watching on the international stage, they now get to watch this. And one of the biggest topics in U.S. women's national team depth roster, Jess, is at the fullback position. Crystal Dunn called into this camp. She plays at PSG. Is this the best answer for Emma Hayes right now in the left fullback position, Crystal Dunn?
Honestly, when you talk experience and versatility, Crystal Dunn is it. She still got it. I don't think she has let off the pedal. She has brightened up her game since she's become a mom and as she's gotten older as well. But what is so fascinating to me about Crystal Dunn is that you can throw her into any position and she's going to dominate there regardless of, whatever position that she's playing. And so I do have to go with experience here, and Crystal Dunn is it right now, as my number one. And I love her game. She gets back. She's a good 1v1 defender. And what's the most miraculous thing about the way that she plays football is the fact that she gets into the final third. You need an outside back who's going to get in line and being able to whip balls in. She's able to combine. She's able to get into the inside pocket where the winger gets on the outside. Just her switch up is just, it's so amazing to watch. And, I think that people sleep on Crystal Dunn a little bit, but
They have been for years.
They have been. And look at the work that she's done. She just came off of winning an Olympic gold medal after becoming a mom. 2019 World Cup gold medalist. I mean, she's gotten Golden Boot, MVP in the NWSL. The woman can do it all, and she's still doing it, and she's still performing as well.
One of the most impressive things with Dunn right now is that heading over to PSG, right? I think it was a tough offseason for her, having to navigate not getting a lot of minutes and struggling at Gotham last year and deciding where she was going to go that is going to best suit her in her career. She lands at PSG, and we're seeing her, Christy, now play so much higher up the pitch. She's in more of an attacking role, which I think you could argue that there's elements that might hurt her at the international level because you need to continue to have experience in the position that your coach wants you to play, which is the outside back role. But did you see her goal this past weekend? It was like a back goal. Holy cow, she can play everywhere, she can do it all.
She can. And I think that Crystal Dunn is one of those players who it's champagne problems, right? Mm-hmm. Literally, her greatest strengths are also the things that ding her. It's that she's so good everywhere that you get to slot her where you need her. So sometimes you don't necessarily get that specialization in certain roles, whereas she's still bar none in any place you slot her better than most players globally. So I think it's just a matter of figuring out where she's needed most for a team. And I think that if you need her in the attack, she can be in the attack. We've seen that. If you need her playing in that left back role, she can play that. You want her to play wing back, she could do that too. I think it's just a matter of tempering both the age and youth, especially with the U.S. national team, because I have a certain risk appetite and I do like to see the kids high flying, but I need it to be anchored with some of the vets that can still call the shots, that have the composure that they can also learn from.
So should Crystal Dunn be concerned right now about her age? And I mean that in the opposite way, it sounds, because Casey Kruger—
That's it. Cancel Lisa. She's being ageist. I'm just kidding. Don't do that.
Casey Kruger came out and said that she had a long conversation with Emma Hayes, and Hayes basically told Kruger the team is going to move forward without you, presumably because of her age. At 34 years old, they're looking to have a little bit more youth in it. And there comes this shelf life and drop off that we did see most recently at the international level, where you have all these really experienced players with 150, 200 caps, and then these players with 5 caps. And Hayes is doing a lot to try to lessen that gap between the 200 cap players and the 5 cap players. It is, where does Dunn stand in this argument at 32 years old? Is there an element where she could be pushed out?
Man, see, look, this is where it gets so complicated, because at the end of the day, we've all heard this quote: age ain't nothing but a number. As long as you're performing, Casey Kruger is still performing. So I can't even take any guesses as to why she's not getting called into camp. Let that have been Kelly O'Hara, one of the greatest outside backs, in U.S. Women's National Team history. If she wasn't retired and if she didn't go through her injuries, she would be in camp right now. We're the same age. She'd be 37 years old. She would predominantly be in these camps. So it doesn't matter with age. Obviously, as you get older, injury is more of a risk, but Casey Kruger's not injured. She's still performing. Look at what she's doing.
She's not being called into camp, and Hayes told her
that's
we're
the
going to move
issue.
forward.
Yeah, but why? Like, I would need a logical explanation, because she's one of my top players to put in that outside back position. She's right-footed, but she's been playing with her left foot for so many years. So you could throw her on the right, you could throw her on the left, and to me, and this is my opinion, in my opinion only, I think she's one of the best 1v1 defenders in the world. 1v1 defenders. When you're going at Casey Kruger, she was a pain in my butt playing against her, because she's fast, she's savvy, she's smart. You had to use every ability that you possibly have to play against this woman. And I don't care about age at this point, because she brings the experience and she can still play, and she's doing it. She's still doing it. So I don't know what Emma Hayes' explanation could possibly be, because at this point, age shouldn't even be an issue at the professional level.
You know what, Jess, I am actually interested in another opinion of yours. So I think what Emma Hayes has been doing is really very much so heavily weighting the future and what that looks like and longevity of this team. I think that in retrospect, your era of US Women's National Team, that legacy of success and excellence, from looking back at it, and you can feel free to disagree, it seemed like there wasn't a whole lot of room for anybody on the youth side to really infiltrate. Everybody was fairly a lock. Everyone was secured, and rightfully so. I think it was a different ilk of player, but also the chemistry that had been built, trophy over trophy. Do you think that that changes the dynamic going forward with that sudden cultural shift of the youth need to perform, we need to see what's going forward, whereas players like Casey Kruger do exist, are capable, but maybe omitted, whereas the past conversation might have been Casey Kruger versus another vet player that she's not getting slotted?
Yeah. Oh, good point. Honestly, since there's no major tournaments within the next 2 years, this is a good time to hit that refresh button for Emma Hayes. But like I said before, if you have your experienced players who are still healthy, who are still going at it, who are still performing, I don't see an issue with that, because I'm playing my experience over the young at this point. But with that being said, if this is what she wants to do, she is the head coach. And honestly, she knows what she's doing. And she's giving these young players a chance, which I absolutely do love still at the end of the day. So I get that she needs to prep for the World Cup, which is in 2027, to make sure that these young players are getting the experience in. So I think it's great at the end of the day, but I'm still getting, if I'm the head coach, I'm bringing in the best of the best still into camp. But you have to sprinkle in a little bit of inexperience who can transition into, a major tournament like the World Cup and help prep them and get them more caps as well underneath their belt.
Perhaps Crystal Dunn also elevates herself in the comparison against Casey Kruger because of Dunn's versatility. She can play multiple positions. She has, and yes, Kruger can play outside back on either side and get forward and be a contributor, but Dunn does it more consistently. And perhaps that's what truly separates her. In getting players into camp and closing the gap, that front line is something that has been talked about a lot. Only one of Triple Espresso called into this camp in Trinity Rodman, Mallory Swanson, and Sophia Wilson. Not in this camp. Wilson is pregnant. She's on maternity leave, and Swanson with personal reasons. So I think this opens a door for a player like Catarina Macario, who is called back into the camp. She's got 6 goals, 2 assists with Chelsea so far this year, Christine. It is now the time for Catarina Macario to take the front line and make it her own. Make one of those 3 spots in the front line Macario's.
I mean, I think that's the name of the game, right? Like you need to take advantage of the opportunities where they present themselves. And sometimes it's unfortunately when one of your teammates is injured and you manage to slot in there. Kat has a lot of versatility. She's got a nose for goal. Um, she's really nice on the ball. She's a pleasure to watch, right? Like, and it's crime that we didn't have her for as long as we had. I want to see her back in the mix of things to see how the chemistry can flow, even, with players that are currently absent. Like, how does that work? Do we actually have the depth that we think we have in the attack? Because I'm pretty damn confident that we do. It's just a matter of, does this individual talent mesh together well? Are they going to complement each other? Do they know how to be unselfish and also selfish at the same time when they need be? But yeah, Kat is always going to be an asset, in my opinion.
It's time for Kat to level up. I think this is the camp for her to do it, to put her stamp on this. Some other Americans abroad, Lindsay Heaps. She plays with Lyon in Champions League. She plays domestically, and she scores goals in just 21 matches. She's 12 goals, 7 assists this season, Jess. She has been electric in their front line and does this pretty consistently with Lyon. However, she doesn't produce like this at the international level. Where's the disconnect for Lindsay Heaps?
Well, truth be told, playing at the international level and playing domestically for your pro team, I mean, they're 2 completely different types of soccer, having to adjust to the way like a Japan or a Brazilian team plays, who has, just purely that breed of people in it and their style of play, and having to adjust to that in comparison to being a professional. You have different types of internationals, different types of personalities who play together. But with that being said, if you want to look at the French league, I mean, there's such a huge gap between the top of the table to the bottom of the table. I mean, most of us would be scoring and having that many assists if I'm with the best team playing against these lower tier teams. So we have to look at competition in France as well, and her role being able to get up high and obviously scoring these golazos, whereas she has to play a little more reserved with the U.S. Women's National Team. We do see her getting into the final third a lot. She's very good in the air, probably one of the best that I've ever seen. But at the end of the day, competition in the French league isn't top tier the way it is at the international level. And so that's where the competition differentiates there.
I mean, Heaps right now is eclipsing her own personal best, but it's also, due to the league. But I think we also need to tip the cap a little bit to Big Joe Montemuro, who also had coached Arsenal and Juve. He is a super attack-minded coach, will get the best out of players, especially in his early seasons when he takes over a team. And I think we're seeing a little bit of his impact. He likes these sort of like pressure point inflections and triggers and just press, attack, attack, attack. And I think that Lindsay plays really, really well under him. Would I love to see her carry that over to the US? Absolutely. Are they going to be playing the same style? No.
Right. The questions asked of Heaps at the international level and with the U.S. team are very different than what's asked of her at Lyon. I mean, she's more of the playmaker with the international team, and domestically, she is a goal scorer for them, right? It is her job to contribute creatively and get on the board for Lyon. We have to stick in Europe, though, Christine, because in the Super League, Arsenal, we have seen them play. And Jenna Nighswonger made this big change in the offseason to go from Gotham over to Arsenal. But when we think about her production, she really hasn't been playing that many games with Arsenal.
No.
What's happening? She's 1 start in just 3 appearances. Why can't she get on the pitch for Arsenal?
So I think that we need to level set expectations a little bit here. I think that the fanfare and just fervor, which comes with a player signing to a big club in Europe, followed her. And I think that the expectation was likened a little bit to Emily Fox's move, who is a mainstay for Arsenal. She plays every single game, is a massive contributor, is vital to their success. Whereas that left back role, she was always going to have to do battle with Katie McCabe. Um, and if not Katie McCabe, then you want to try to play like that left center back role. It's Catley. We know that Nighswonger can play a little bit further up the pitch. Then you're going to have to go head to head with Mariona Caldente or Catlin Ford. I think that there isn't a place for her, and I think that she probably understood that coming in, and that this was going to be uh, a brutal experience, that she was going to have to also learn a new style, new play, how to get this chemistry with her teammates. And right now, we're looking at her having played 3 games, 1 start, and the
Mhm.
1 start is because McCabe was suspended. So I hope that there's a little bit of a reality check here.
Right. So when players make big moves, leaving a league, going over to play in Europe in Champions League, there's a lot of different reasons for that. But pretty sure it's safe to say it's because you also want to grow your game and get better as a player to continue to be called into camps. She's not called into this camp. In hindsight, is this maybe not the best decision for Nighswonger to go to Arsenal, considering she's not getting playing time and now she's not called into this US camp?
I think when you assume a certain risk as a player, you know that there could be the downside of it, right? Like, you want to try to expand your game. That's not always going to be an instant impact. That could be a long-term thing. That could mean that you're missing out on a camp that you very much had previously been part of. Does it suck? Yes. But is it realistic? Yeah, sure. I mean, when you look at the pool there right now that Emma Hayes is trying to cultivate, we already know what attributes Nighswonger has, right? We know that she's not necessarily the greatest defender, that she's great in that giddy up the flank, crossing balls into the box, making attacking contributions. But if you're not playing with a side that values that or uses that integral to their system, yeah, you're gonna be sitting.
It's also very interesting because Hayes has talked specifically about those outside back positions. And unfortunately, this past weekend, we had a terrible injury to center back, U.S. women's national team and Gotham player Tierna Davidson. She went down at the end of the first half in Gotham's match this weekend. So Hayes had the opportunity to bring up another player, and she chose to bring up another outside back. Again, it's not Jenna Nighswonger, though. It's not Nighswonger being called into camp. This time it's Giselle Thompson. So she jumps from the U23 squad to the senior national team. It's a little bit of a domino effect. And now Olivia Moultrie, the Portland Thorns midfielder, got called up to the U23 squad to replace Giselle Thompson. Jess, is this the swap that you wanted to see for Hayes to make, this little conveyor belt of players moving up?
Absolutely. I think with Nighswonger kind of lacking that playing time for Arsenal, I mean, I think that is her biggest issue. Emma Hayes wants to see her performing and on the pitch, and she's not doing that. And so with that being said, Giselle Thompson, I mean, she's in the middle of her season for Angel City FC. She's performing. She's doing really well right now. And she has a little bit of experience with the full team. So I think this is very much so deserved for this young outside back. And she's able to learn and get some more touches and more of a feeling to be able to play with the full team at this point. And as far as Olivia Moultrie, maybe not my favorite choice, obviously, to move up into the U23 squad, but I'm excited for Giselle Thompson. I think that with her performance right now with Portland Thorns hasn't quite put me at the edge of my seat. I think that she hasn't quite lived up to the expectation, especially with the injuries that they have and players that are missing right now. Sometimes her decision making, I'm like kind of scratching my head a little bit. And so I guess we'll see what she's going to do with the U23s. You never know.
Is there another player that you would have preferred to be called up instead of Moultrie?
For midfield? Because, I mean, we're talking about a midfielder coming in for an outside back. So that's a pretty tough decision. But if I'm going with the outside back position, I'm going with Savvy King here to move on up. She's performed with her new club, and she's been absolutely fantastic. She's quick. She's good 1v1 defending. She's been a really fun one, and obviously I'm biased because she's also a Tar Heel.
I like that. She is on the U23 camp, called in for this team coming into what they can do. I like the call for Savvy King, though, to maybe get a head up. I'm looking at Kennedy Fuller, though. This is a player that in the midfield, really young in the league, but she has done such a good job of establishing herself as a very big presence in the midfield for Angel City. So that's one that I think would have been a really good addition to this U23 squad. Get her some time in camp, bring her up, see how she competes with the senior national team, and give her a little bit of a mix. But this left back position is a big question mark. Both fullback positions,
You know
right?
what? I think that this U23 camp and just what we're seeing already, and I know rookie, but Lily Real, I think that she's somebody that's going to get a 1, 2, maybe 3 time look over to see, how confident she is, how seamlessly she could possibly try to hang with the first team after this camp.
Yeah, well,
Again, way too early, but I think that she's got a lot of quality
mhm.
that, mold that fast and early. And you might have your next, again, probably I'd say behind Savvy King right now, but um,
Mhm.
yeah.
Yeah, Savvy King, I think, has the edge over Real just in terms of left back, because she's a natural left back, she's a left-footed
Mhm.
player, and that does give her a little bit of a bump. We did a poll on YouTube with the left backs of this team and who people want. 53% of you voted for Crystal Dunn, 28% voted for Casey Kruger, 16% voted for Jenna Nighswonger, and 3% said, "I don't want any of them.
Nighswonger
I
not
want."
even getting minutes in the chat. Damn.
This is pretty rough. They want someone else, though. They want someone else. Good
Fair.
thing it's not
Me?
up
Is
to
it
the
me? No, I'm
chat
kidding.
to make these decisions. And Emma Hayes has put on the spot and under the pressure. Oh, gosh. This was a really fun conversation to take a look at these Americans abroad, how they're getting time. And the U.S. takes on Brazil on Saturday. We have a full U.S. Brazil preview on Thursday of this week, ahead of that match on Saturday.